Hello. Hello, my wonderful friends. My heart goes out to you. I know that I have a mix of audience here. I have those of you who have been with me from my YouTube channel, The Artistic Mystic, and some of you are from Gene Keys Unleashed, and some of you are from my newest endeavor, my newest creative endeavor, which is A Cauldron of Crones, our new website. And I say our because I am in partnership with Lizzie Dewey, and we have this delicious website where I'm able to speak my inner work and she's able to speak her inner work, and we do it in such diverse artistic ways. Sometimes I use video, sometimes we do a podcast. Always Lizzie writes beautiful material, and sometimes I do some art journaling. So if you have not checked out our new website, you'll find the link down in the show notes. That said, I wanted to come to meet everyone with a new creative project that has called me forward. And I say it's a creative project, but it's way more than that. It is a project in which I'm utilizing art, but it is actually a spirit project. It is even more than a spirit project. It is a soul project. Now, I believe every one of you who is watching this knows that I am into the Gene Keys and knows I am into the dream arc. And let me tell you how it actually came about, the inspiration for this project. And before I even tell you what the project is. So we've had a change of season here. I live in Idaho. I live in the mountains of Idaho. And during the pulse of Gene Key 1, which is that beautiful yang creativity energy, is when this project was birthed. But the growing pains, what was happening before that, is what helped to birth it. And that is that our change of season has happened, obviously, going from late summer into autumn, into cold, wet autumn, and freezing in the mornings, right? And even snow on the ground at times. So I changed my wardrobe. All summer I wore overalls and a shirt. That was it. Overalls and a shirt. Because I have a young dog and I just need the very simple, easily thrown in the washer clothes, right? Well, for winter, I can't wear overalls because how can I take all those layers off to get the overalls off to go to the toilet, right? So in the winter, I wear pants like everybody else, no overalls, and I wear layers of shirts. So I'm changing out my wardrobe, and I start wearing the pants, and I start wearing these plaid shirts, and I start wearing my vests. And all of a sudden, I feel incredibly fat, like super fat. And for me, that's a problem because if anyone has watched my videos, you may know that I have had an ongoing relationship with an eating disorder all my life. And part of that eating disorder is body dysmorphia. And so I'm confronted all of a sudden with this body who is chubbier than it was at the beginning of the summer. I broke my foot in the middle of the summer. I could not walk. I was very, I was limited in my movement, but my eating didn't change. And so I put on weight from that. That's a simple reason, right? But anyone with body dysmorphia or an eating disorder will find that to be very threatening and triggering. So I was triggered. I put on these clothes and, the button at the bottom of the shirt was a little tight and the pants felt a little confining, and it was so much nicer in overalls that are rather like a tent. Yeah. So I thought, I really need to confront this. And what I need to confront is not that I'm feeling fat and so need to go on a diet. That's not what needs to be confronted. What needs to be confronted is the self-hatred I felt for feeling fat. Because body dysmorphia is all about thinking that you're bad for being the size you are, or misinterpreting the size you are as being fat even. And all sorts of confusion around what size your body is supposed to be and what shape your body is supposed to be. And add to that aging. I'm about to turn 69 this month, and it was kind of a perfect storm for body self-hatred. And so my challenge was, what can I do to finally move through this wicked, nasty, self-critical voice within me that is telling me that I am wrong and bad and will never be loved because of my size. So that's what actually spurred on this project. However, that's not exactly what's going to happen within the project. That is now a side aspect of the project as it has been birthed in these last couple of weeks. The other thing that was happening in my life is that in my year-long program in Devoted with Haley Curtis, we are in the culture sphere within the Golden Path. It's in the Pearl sequence. My culture sphere in the Pearl sequence is Jinki 40. Now, let's define it even more. The dream arc animal bird for Jinki 40 is the robin. And the robin itself asks if you are going to work with the robin wants you to go on a 40-day journey. And this 40-day journey is meant to be a journey of imagining yourself as an enlightened being. Okay? Now, I've done this journey before. I did it 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago. And at that time, I chose the enlightened being that was known as Merlin. And so for 40 days, I worked with the book, The Way of the Wizard, with Deepak Chopra, exploring what it might have been like to think like Merlin, right? So I thought maybe I'll just be maybe the robin is calling me to do this journey again. The same journey I already went on, but maybe go deeper into it. No. The robin was very clear and said, no. This time you are doing the 40-day journey, but you're choosing someone else. So who are you going to choose? What enlightened being are you being called to choose? Well, I have just come from the core wound and vocation of Gene Key 22. And Gene Key 22 is all about grace and graciousness and bringing the cosmic mother forward, a very femininely inspired Gene Key. And so I thought, well, feminine, I really probably need to find a feminine model. So who have we got out there? Who can I model my life after that would be a beautiful reflection of the feminine for me, right? I remembered that I had studied with Carolyn Mace quite a few years ago and she had done something with one of the saints, is the way my thinking went. And I thought, who was that she did some work with one of the saints? And it came to me that the book is called Entering the Castle, and it's about Teresa of Ávila. And she was a Spanish mystic and a nun. And I thought, well, I really like Carolyn Mace's teaching. And I believe this might be the kind of juicy book that I can really sink my teeth into, and it might give me an idea of what it was like to be a Catholic mystic at that time. And so I thought, that's who I'll do. That's who I will base my 40 days on. I will learn about this woman by it being interpreted by Carolyn Mace, because I mean, this woman, Teresa of Ávila, this nun, wrote in the late 1500s. So what Carolyn Mace has done is she has brought in a modern day viewing of this very sacred, mystical woman. You know, I said it rather lightly at the time and thought, yep, that's what I'm going to do. But then I thought, wait a minute, how am I going to tie that in with my body dysmorphia? And you know, how am I going to do that? And you might be asking the same thing. So I thought, well, I need to weave them together somehow. So I'm going to get a bunch of books on deprogramming all of my problems with fat phobia and body dysmorphia. And so I ordered a bunch of books. What did I order? 4 or 5 of them, you know, buying them used copies and that kind of thing. And they still have not gotten here, but you know, they're on their way. And then I started listening to Carolyn talk about Teresa of Ávila. I purchased an Audible version of a lecture series where it's actually more of a workshop where she's taking her participants through each of the mansions within this castle that Teresa of Ávila wrote about. And I started listening to Carolyn talk about the sacred nature of this work and the calling of us, if we are attracted to this work, the calling of those of us attracted to this work as being incredibly sacred. And I realized that this wasn't really about me changing my ideas about the way I look. And it wasn't really about getting rid of fat phobia. It's about what I truly, truly long for, which is a connection to my soul. That's what this journey is about. That's what I have been flirting with for so long, but I haven't ever committed to. Now, I have done an enormous amount of work on myself. I have really dug deep into many of my wounding patterns, and I have worked through so much of my food addiction, and I have worked through so much of even my body dysmorphia, and I have worked on other patterns that have been shadowlands within my life, and yet I still haven't reached for my soul. And so that's what this trip is actually about. That's what this journey that Robin is asking me to do is about. It's about me just putting my money where my mouth is. This is something when I first started working with Haley, however long it was ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I don't even remember. And she had me fill out a worksheet. What do you want? Et cetera, et cetera. And I think one of the first things I put on there was a deeper connection to God, to my soul. And so here's an opportunity. Here's my opportunity. Anyway, let me read what Robin said as I try to get control of my tears. I am Robin, full of fire am I. Who else would dare pull a bloodied thorn from the head of Christ? And what a transformation that brought to all the bird people. So too must you dig deep inside yourself for the spiritual courage to yourself become a great one. The ancients called this divine pride, to imagine yourself as a Buddha, a Christ, or any other great teacher of any gender. This then is my challenge to you. For 40 days, you must imagine yourself as a great soul. You must reinvent your life from the inside out. How will you speak? Behave? How will you think? What will become important to you? This is the journey I invite you into. So, So I've planned my journey. That's another thing the Robin asks, is for you to plan your journey and to set your environment up to support your journey. So I am, hold on. I am beginning on the 16th of November, which is the pulse of Gene Key 14. I'm no longer going to compromise my true longing. 40 days from that, the end of Christmas Day. It will end in Gene Key 58, which is the duck, which is the bird that I've been traveling with all year, which is all about bliss. So the timing is beautiful. I have decided to support myself in a number of ways. I've bought 2 different journals. They haven't come yet. One is a 5x7, which will be my, I would think of it as my research journal. That's where I will put in any information that might come from some of those weight books, some of those books that I've ordered, or might be research into dream arc animals. I have a whole cadre of dream arc animals as a team coming with me. So that's the research book, and I don't even know, quotes that I pick up along the way, things that Teresa has said that really are meaningful, or that Carolyn has said that are very meaningful. They'll go into that journal. Then I have 8x10, I think, size journal where I'm going to actually be in conversation with my soul. And I have long called my soul Sophia. I used to write to my soul. There was a time when I wrote to my soul, and maybe she wrote back, not sure. But this time I'm going to look at it as a sacred time every day to write to my soul. And they're, of course, both the same color. And this beautiful sunny yellow. So I have those 2 coming. And then I have an art journal as well, which I prepared today. One of my usual size art journals. I have a picture of Teresa in there. And I don't know how much art journaling I will be doing. I honestly don't. I don't know what I will even be sharing with you as I do this journey, because it's a very internal journey and not necessarily meant for public consumption. But that said, I know that what part of my own personal mission here on earth is to share my own transformation with people. And so I will be sharing enough of it for you to get a flavor of that, yes, this is possible. Yes, you could do this. We could all be mystics without monasteries, as Carolyn Mace calls them. So I mentioned dream arc animals. Part of this calling came about, I chose the pulse of 14, and then I knew when it was going to end during the 58. And then I thought, wait a minute, I should have some animals with me. Who should I have with me? Who can I have as traveling companions on this journey? Dream arc animals, yes. And so I started picking different ones. I put them in my, I have this journal here that has lots of notes. I was starting a list over here, and then all of a sudden I heard you need one from each category. I went, wait a minute, that's freaking 12 animals, one from each category, because each there are 12 categories. You have guardians, you have tricksters, you have leapers, you have changers, you have messengers, and it goes on and on. So I thought, so I'm going to have 12 animals on this journey with me. And at this moment, I'm traveling with the raven as my guardian. And I thought, okay, so raven's in there. And then I started I'm also traveling with a bat at this moment. And the bat is all about crystalline intuition. And I'd already gotten some clarity around this project, right? So the bat's been at work here. And the bat just said, wait a minute, don't choose anything until you've really thought about it. So guess what I did? I went to the Gene Keys and I made a chart, a Gene Keys chart for Teresa of Ávila. Now, of course, I don't have her time, nor do I have Carolyn Mace's time. But that's okay. Those would affect the lines, and I don't need to worry about that. I did a chart for Teresa of Ávila, and I did a chart for Carolyn Mace. And I saw within those two charts some bridging Gene Keys, including Gene Key 34, where all three of us have Gene Key 34 somewhere in our charts. It's my life's work and brand. It's Carolyn's core wound and vocation, and it's Teresa's attraction sphere. So right there, I knew I had to have an animal for 34, right? And then there were a couple of other ones like that where I went, ooh, that is Teresa's life's work. It would be great to have an animal from there. Or, I wonder, should I have another one from Carolyn or not? So I started playing with all these animals and really feeling into reading up on the animals, feeling into the energy of the Gene Key, trying to figure out where I am now and where I envision this journey might take me. I can't envision where I'll be at the end of 40 days, but I can imagine some of the qualities that I might need along the journey, including some of the antidotes to shadows, What antidotes do I have to some of the fears that I might be carrying? You can tell I have some fears. I wouldn't have cried earlier in this video. But so I have a cadre of 12 animals. And it turns out that my guardian is Gene Key 14, the beginning. We're starting this journey on the day that the 14 comes into the pulse for me. And the turtle is Gene Key 14 shadow. And the turtle is all about the fear of prosperity. Defining prosperity for me it has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with touching the sacred and touching the soul. To me, that is prosperity at its greatest. And I am terrified of that. So the turtle is helping me as my guardian on this journey. Then I have a number of other animals. Of course, I have the robin as my journeyer because the robin is the one who started this whole thing. So I had two there already set. And I just started putting together other animals and other qualities that I needed. And I ended up, I ended up making an AI image of a castle. Because we're entering the castle. Teresa of Ávila thinks of the soul as this castle that has many mansions. So I created this castle with many mansions within it. And then I have all of the animals around it. I ended up with 4 fear keys, 4 underworld creatures, 4 mammals, and 4 birds. And so I've printed it out. It'll be up on my bulletin board. It'll end up going in my art journal. And I have each of the fears or qualities of the animals spelled out there on it. So, for instance, my elephant, deep patience, the horse, benevolent revolution. So, as I'm putting this project into place, as you can tell, I've begun the preparatory work for the project. I've ordered materials. I've chosen my companions. It's a fellowship of animals, right? I have found, I own the book. I have ordered the copy that was written by Teresa of Ávila herself. This is Carolyn Mace interpreting her work. I have been listening to the lecture series or the workshop series about this material from Carolyn Myss, so that I have, it's kind of like a prelude to what is coming, so that I am somewhat prepared, because in a way 40 days is a very short amount of time to learn so much about this woman, to be able to even bring in any kind of emulation of her, to bring in any kind of modeling of her and her behavior. And yet I've done so much work on myself, I have a feeling it may be easier than I think, but I think I will also come up against a lot of surprises. So I want to be prepared in a very creative way, you know, picking journals because of the color that they are and the size they are, you know, making sure they all have some kind of identification mark on them, so they're all the same in a unity of purpose, to you know, make an image so that I have this work illustrated, to be hearing Carolyn's voice, to be reading Carolyn's voice, to be, you know, scheduling things. The whole thing is an interesting mix of artistry and soul longing and soul preparation even. So I just wanted to let you all know that I'm beginning this project here on Sunday, the 16th. That's correct, right? And I am going to be somehow expressing it to you, whether it's here on YouTube, whether it is in GKU, where I might be a little more intimate, so only people in the membership can see it. I might only be expressing it to my best friend Lizzie on Voxer, or parts of it, because it might be that intimate. I might be doing things on Instagram and doing a reel or two, or just showing art journal pages that have been inspired by this work. I might be writing articles or talking about it in podcasts on our website, A Cauldron of Crones. I honestly don't know, and I am allowing that to just be what it is. I will be directed to know what is right to share where. And even today, I didn't know I was going to record this. This just happened. I knew I wanted to do something before I started, but I didn't know it would be this. But here it is. Interestingly enough, this journey of 40 days, I think, is actually going to organically, naturally bring deep awareness to the wounds I still have around my body. Even though I may not be directly addressing the fat phobia issues, the body dysmorphia, I think by bringing conversations with my soul into my everyday life, those hateful, vicious voices I have within me, those deep wounds around my body, they're going to be tenderly, graciously lifted from me. That said, I may bring in some of the things that I read in those books, if I'm even called to read anything in any of these books that I've ordered. And I am going to be in conversation every day with my soul to whatever depth I can possibly come to each day. And some of that conversation may come up, and I may actually speak about each of these issues. And again, they may just fall away, because I'm going to be finding what is truly, truly in my heart, truly what I'm longing for, truly what wants to be filled within me, will be filled by this connection with the Spirit, instead of the false connection with food, the false connection with outside validation. Nobody out there is ever going to fill this void by saying, you are so beautiful no matter what size you are. People might say that to me over and over again every single day. Will that ever fill this hole that's within me? No. Because the hole can't be filled by outer validation. It can only be filled by my own love and connection with a greater power. And that's what this 40 days is about. Yeah. So anyway, is that all I've got? I think that's all I've got. And I am the part of me that is an artist is incredibly excited because it is a new creative project. This kind of alchemizing art, this art of alchemy, this creative creation is what turns me on. I get so excited about this kind of thing, and making things like maps, and making things like art journal pages where I bring in the robin with all these 7 mansions that are within the castle of the soul, as Teresa of Ávila describes them. This whole project is being woven from this creative heart of mine, and yet the commitment and the true, all of it is to bring myself face to face with my soul. And I do not want to forget that part. I may come away from this 40-day project with an absolutely new way of being in this world. In the past, I have played with prayer, but I can't say it's I don't have a spiritual practice. I'm not a religious person, but what will happen after 40 days of modeling my life after someone as devout as Teresa of Ávila, I don't know. So I am walking a path of unknown, and I have a lot of friends on the path with me. I have 12 animals with me. I have my beautiful 12 women devoted with me. I have all of you with me. Even if you aren't with me intimately every second of the day, you are there witnessing me. And that's rather profound. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for listening and for seeing me off on my journey as I work with the journeyer, the robin, as we fly off into this beautiful landscape that has a castle at its heart. And I will see you the next time I share something. Thank you.